A local comic book store had a special one-day sale in my neighborhood. And for this one day, they brought up several boxes and priced these books at $1 a piece. And there were several thousands of these books. Now, I should have known better. I should try to avoid these kind of sales because, honestly, when you come across these kind of books, the thrill of the hunt, the number of books, well, I just end up buying just way too much. And this was certainly the case again this time. The name of the store is Treehouse Collectibles, and they had a similar sale this past year in May on Free Comic Book Day, where I actually ended up buying more than 100 books. But this time, there's a lot more. So let's take a look at some of the books that I bought. Here we got a copy of Alpha Flight number 2, and the only reason why I got this is because it's basically the Canadian price variant. So I'm kind of looking for Canadian price variants of the earlier Alpha Flight issues. I used to have the series before, but it's pretty much gone now. But I am picking up Canadian price newsstand versions of this. We got a nice copy of Amazing Spider-Man 205. Again, like these for what was essentially 85 cents each. An incredible buy. And these are most of these books that I purchased were in what I would call nice 8.0, very fine or better. This is a copy of Annie number 1, the movie adaptation from the 80s. And this was a great find. This is Astonishing Tales number 6. Now, it's kind of like a mid-lower grade copy, but it's the first appearance of Bobbi Morse, who becomes Mockingbird. But to be honest, it's one of the weakest first appearances I've ever seen. And I'll kind of show you. Like, that's her. They don't even mention what her name is. That's her running to a house. And, I mean, Bobbi Morse has blonde hair, but the first appearance, she's got brown hair. And that's it. Those 3 panels. And this counts as a first appearance. But that being said, like the Barry Windsor Smith artwork in this issue is really nice. It's worth the price of admission. As well as the Doctor Doom, Black Panther, T'Challa story in the back. So yeah, Astonishing Tales number 6. Pretty good. Especially for 85 cents. Here we got a copy of Blade Runner number 2. Again, these are pretty nice. A decent copy of Captain America number 263, Mike Zeck cover. This is a copy of Doctor Strange number 1, 2, and 3. First issue of the Electric Saga. Now, if you read this, it's interesting because they kind of piecemealed a bunch of different Elektra stories into one, including stuff from Bizarre Adventures number 28. And they bump the stories back and forth, so it's kind of a butchered version of Miller's Daredevil run. And so interesting how they put it together, but with new great covers. But honestly, like, it is kind of a mangled version of the original series. Got a backboard there. There's a copy of the James Bond For Your Eyes Only. I do like picking up these kind of movie adaptations. Decent copy of Ghost Rider number 72, as well as number 5 and the Glow in the Dark number 15. 2-issue set of Krull number 1 and 2. I was happy to find these, even though that they're kind of lower grade. I'm mad about Millie number 4. It's okay outside of the little rusty staple. And I'm mad about Millie number 5. Like, these are tough to find. If you watched my Marvel Rare books from the 70s, I do mention this title, Mad About Millie, these teen comics. Got a copy of Marvel Team Up number 118 that does have a Wolverine appearance, but this one's it's a little beat up. A copy of Marvel Tales number 88, which is a Marvel Team Up reprint. A copy of Micronauts number 7. Now, I could have almost bought the entire run they had there. They didn't have number 1. I just took the 7. And actually, they didn't have the Captain Universe issues either, but they had a lot of Micronauts there. Canadian newsstand of Magic number 1. And another kind of significant key. This is Star-Lord's first solo outside of magazines in Marvel Spotlight number 6. Not the nicest copy, like it's probably a mid-grade copy, but still, for 85 cents, an incredible find. Got a nice copy of Team Up number 125, Newsstand Marvel Universe number 2, and 2 copies of NAM number 1. And if you notice, the color strike is different between the two. This is actually the first print over here, and this is the second print. You can only tell by looking on the inside cover, and it says second printing down here. But one way to tell is just the different color. This is a much more vibrant blue. That's the second print. The more washed out is the first print. But I picked that up, as well as a number 3 and a number 2. This used to be a very hot series. I have a copy of ROM number 18. I do have the 17 somewhere, but all these have been debagged and boarded. And this is an X-Men crossover issue. It does have a few issues, but they can probably be pressed out. An issue of Semper Fi number 1. An issue of Strike Force Moratori number 1. So I do like picking up first issues whenever I can. Yeah, as long as they're in high grade. Like really nice Bronze Age Thor number 258, and for 85 cents, like honestly, this is like a really good deal. Number 259, and these are all complete with no significant issues or anything. Who did the artwork on this? Oh, John Buscema did it. So, yeah, happy about that. We have some Canadian newsstand versions of Simonson Thors, which I like. Thor 341 and 347, so those are nice. Got a Web of Spider-Man annual number 2. I kept this one because it was actually in a decent bag and board. We got a What If number 17, featuring Ghost Rider, Spider-Woman, and Captain Marvel. A What If number 32. I do really like this series. Great for reading. And we got a Wolverine number 5. So, yeah, that's the first batch of Marvel books. The price, I picked up 262 books, and I got it for $220, so about 85 cents each. So very happy with this deal. I've had a few comments about this, about how do I budget my spending on comic books. And the truth is, I don't really have a fixed budget. I don't have a weekly pull list, or I don't buy new comic books. So for me, what I'm mindful of is just that I buy and collect well below my means. So what does that mean? That means I don't like buy on credit, or I don't like spend excessively on books that I want. I've got plenty of comic books, but I'm kind of buying more on like an opportunity basis. So sometimes there'll be several weeks, like, over a month, where I won't even buy a single comic book. But then there's other times where if I go to a special sale or something, I might spend $300, $400. The one thing, though, is I rarely spend a lot of money on a single comic book. Now, the most I've ever spent, and this may surprise some people, on a single comic book is about $400. And I don't want to... Like, $400 is still a lot of money, especially to spend on a single comic book. But when you see what some of these kind of expensive comic books that sell for thousands of dollars regularly, it seems, even tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, $400 just maybe doesn't seem as much, but it still is a lot. It's not to say that I have regrets about not purchasing comic books that are far more expensive before, and even this past year, I had one of these instances. I passed up on a low-grade copy of Strange Tales 110, which is the first appearance of Doctor Strange, and it was also a signed copy by Stan Lee. It wasn't slabbed or graded. It was just a raw copy, but it was priced at around $1,200, which is like, maybe $850 US or whatever. And I thought it was actually a very good price. But, it's out of my comfort zone, or kind of my comfort range in terms of buying or spending that kind of money for a book. But I did think it was actually very well priced. And of course it sold like a day or two after. And it's like, I probably should have bought it, because I'm not going to have that many opportunities to maybe buy this book at this price, especially one that's signed by Stan Lee. But who knows? But you know what? That's fine. The next stack of books I just kind of want to go through quickly are a pile of Fantastic Four issues. And again, these were all essentially 85 cents. They're all pretty high grade, like 8.0-ish or better or a little worse. This is issue number 170. This is issue number 192. FF number 206. Number 215. I do have some of these already, but again, for this kind of price and for this kind of grade, you got to remember that some of these books here are now like over 40 years old. This is like a 45-year-old book. And sure, they're not rare and high grade by any means, but to find them for this kind of price, like sure, why not? Number 216, number 217, number 218, number 219, number 220, it's a great red cover here. 221, number 222, number 223, number 225. These were all originally bagged, but when I removed them, you got to be very careful because the bags were old and the tape was very gummy. So I had to constantly literally wash my hands every now and then because my hands were getting so gummed up and yucky from all the residue from the bags and the tape. 227, number 228, number 230, and then we start into John Byrne's fabulous run on FF. No 232, but the second issue, 233, number 235, 234, and then 235. The 20th anniversary issues, which is great, number 236, number 237. I got 2 copies of number 40. Again, this was kind of like just a mad grab to grab everything that I thought that was good. This was probably in a different area. Number 241, number 242, and a couple later issues, number 288, because it's got a Dr. Doom Beyonder, and number 293, which is a Canadian price, Canadian newsstand. You can tell by the 95 cent. This is post John Byrne, and then a copy of Fantastic Four Special Edition number 1, which I believe reprints Annual 1. Yes. But I do like these deluxe reprints, and it does have some additional kind of fill-in stuff by John Byrne. You can kind of tell, like right here. But yeah, fun stuff. When I look back at the haul videos that I've made on this channel, I seem to be making them about every 4 to 6 weeks. And that's actually probably the frequency in terms of when I buy kind of these larger purchases. And so, like I mentioned, sales, I usually try to time my purchases when I find out about these sales. And what I do is I follow a few stores or businesses on Instagram and just keep an eye out on when they have sales. And when they do, I'll go and I'll rummage and I'll dig through their bins and I'll usually buy a good amount of stuff. Stuff that is interesting, stuff that I like. I don't always have a particular focus, but you know, you can tell from the videos that I've made so far, it can be just all over the place. My buying patterns or collecting in terms of comic books are, if I could say one word in terms of how to describe it, it's erratic. It's all over the place. But if there's anything that I can kind of generalize about what I buy, is I like old comic books. And when I mean old, I mean, it's hard to believe that the 1980s is like 40 years ago, but generally anything before, let's say, 1985 that I like. So these are the last group of books I want to show of this first part of this kind of 2-part video of this haul, just because there's so many books and I still have to kind of unbag and sort the other ones, but these are all kind of DC books, Teen Titans and Swamp Thing. But again, like great deal, a lot of actually even like what you would call like semi-keys in this run, but I cannot highly recommend the Marv Wolfman, George Perez run of the New Teen Titans. This is Annual 2, first appearance of Vigilante. This is Annual 1. This is Annual 3, which is the last finale of the Judas Contract. Oh, what a great story. And kind of tragic ending, and it really surprised a lot of people at how it ended. This is kind of in reverse order. This is a newsstand of number 40. This is one of the best single issues to read, in my opinion, number 38. Happy to pick up another copy of that. We got number 34. Got number 35. I'm going to put that over here. Got a copy of number 30. You'll notice I'm going to run into some duplicates. Number 29. Number 28. 2 copies of number 27, which is the second part of the Runaways story, which is also really good. A copy of number 26, which is the first appearance of Terra. A copy of number 25, Canadian Newsstand. Number 24. 2 copies of 24. Copy number 23, which is first appearance of Blackfire. Copy of 22, 21. 2 copies of number 19, one which is a newsstand. Copy number 20. A copy of number 18 and number 17. These were all the same price. Copy number 16. This is a little beat up. That's fine. It's the first appearance of Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew. Copy of number 15. 14. Number 13. Number 12. Number 11. 2 copies of 11. And I'll just buy these because when you can buy cheap quality books like this for this price, I'll pick them up. Number 7. Number 6. And number 5. So that's as early as it goes. There's a funny thing about these New Teen Titans books that I picked up. Now, actually, I already have a lot of these, so some of them are even duplicates or maybe even triplicates. But I always like buying high-quality books. In terms of high-quality reading, artwork, stories. But if you're like a long-time collector like I've been, you will develop kind of price memory on these books. And the New Teen Titans, back in the day, it was an expensive back issue purchase, especially kind of the first 10, 15 issues or so. Like, they were well over cover price, and, comparatively now, they were quite expensive. So for some of these purchases, it's almost kind of like a price reflex memory thing that it's like, oh wow, these are basically under $1 each. Yeah, sure, I'll take these. Now, sure, some of them are kind of like these semi-keys, like, the first appearance of Terra or, Starfire's sister or whatever. But, the New Teen Titans is a very good title, a very good run. Highly recommend to read it. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I picked these up. Part of it is kind of price memory. These books used to be a lot more expensive. Alan Moore Swamp Things. Again, these were all under $1 each. Pretty decent shape on the most part. Some are, like, I would say, like mid or higher grade, but still pretty nice. Number 22. Number 23. They did have a beat up 24, but I passed up on that. Number 26. 27 with a great demon story. Number 29. Got a copy of number 30. 31 with Arcane. You got 32, which was a bit of a filler story. 35. No 37, of course, but that's fine. No 38, no second appearance, but there was a 39, I believe. 36. 39. Great second part of this vampire story featuring Hellblazer Constantine. Number 40. Number 41. Number 42. 43. And then it jumps to like 56. This is where it starts getting a little weird. 57. Number 60. But there you go. A wonderful lot of great 80s DC books. 85 cents each. At this sale, a lot of these boxes were really unorganized. Like, they weren't in alphabetical order. Sometimes they were flipped upside down. Sometimes they were backwards. They were just all over the place. And that's good and bad. Sure, if they're organized, it's kind of easier to kind of skim through and find titles that you're interested in. But when they're not organized, they require more discipline in terms of looking for specific good books. And it's kind of this thrill of the hunt thing. It's like you go through these boxes, your fingers get all yucky, and you find like gems or books that just will surprise you. And certainly this was the case again. I didn't get any crazy books like last time where they were like these 1950s DC books out of nowhere. But this time there were still like a lot of really good, dollar bin buys. I've mentioned that, a lot of these books were in bags that are probably as old as the comic books themselves, like 30 plus years. And you have to be careful when you take these books out of the bags. Sometimes the tape has just gotten to a point where you touch it, it's really gummy and yucky. So for a lot of these books, I actually end up just cutting the bags open with a pair of scissors instead of like taking the tape off and opening the flap and taping the book out. It's just kind of a safer way to make sure that you don't get a lot of this gunk on your fingers and put fingerprints on these covers. So I've been buying a lot of comic books this past year. Like, part of it is like, making these videos actually has really sparked my interest in collecting comic books again. But there was a long period of time where I just basically stopped buying books. Part of it was when we moved into a condo, our first home. Like, if you live in a big city and you live in an apartment or a condo, you just know that, there's just not a lot of space. And we moved from a basement apartment that actually had a lot of space that I can kind of, manage my collection better. But moving to the condo really prevented any of that. And, for a long time, a lot of my boxes were in our storage locker. And, a few others were kind of tucked away in places that you couldn't really see in the condo. But it made accessing these books a lot more difficult. And as well, like, as a result, my collecting habits just kind of waned. I was fortunate in the sense that when we lived in that basement apartment, I was able to sell a lot of my comic books. And it was a good time to sell as well, too, at that time. But once we moved to the condo, my collecting essentially paused for quite a few years until we moved into the house that we live in now. And even then, it took a while before I started buying again, just because, this kind of new house, we bought a fixer-upper, took up a lot of our time. And I ended up spending a lot more time fixing the house than on my comic books. So now that things have slowed down, and especially because of COVID is probably a really big reason why my interest in comic books have come back. I had a lot more time. So I, organized my collection, and I thought, I really love comic books, and I thought it would be kind of neat to make videos about comic books. So that's why I'm kind of here, and I've been buying more comic books again. So where am I today in terms of my journey into collecting? Well, it's pretty obvious. I'm back. Like, I'm collecting comic books again. What are my next steps? I'll probably save that for the next half of this collection haul video, just because there's a lot to unpack and talk about there. So I hope you can join me for that one. One thing that's made me really happy about making these videos is, like, I'll read comments from viewers who are saying that they've started to pick up some of these books that I've talked about, that I've mentioned in my videos. I mean, that really makes me happy. Like comic books are awesome. You should read them. You should enjoy them. However you want to collect your comic books. There's no right and wrong way. If you want to check out some of my previous haul videos, you can check them out here. And until next time, enjoy and read your comic books.